All right, what's up? Welcome, episode 58, the Duole podcast. I'm Stuart Anderson. Just a short introduction here before we hear from Heather Van Boerum and John Olson, her brother, and Don Van Boerum, Dr. Don, who is Heather's husband. We also have Kristen on with me on the podcast, so grateful for all of them that joined to tell Heather's story, Flower Power's story, and everything that happened to her on that tragic day in December last year where she was hit by a car. And then kind of the story behind our Flower Power kits, if you've seen the team wearing them in the pink and black, and how that was created by John, and just the story behind it. Heather tells her story of adapting and changing, what she's been through, what she's felt. Just a short, introduction to everything that she's been through over the past 8 months. Incredible story, and very grateful for the time that they spent to share it. It's very brave. I don't know, as I sat there and watched her, I don't know if I'd be willing to be so open and brave about everything that's happened to me, but she is all about helping others and getting others involved, and being grateful for those that have reached out to her to help her on this little journey. So thankful for John. You know, I honor John as a yellow jersey leader. He is a man to follow. Grateful for his example and especially his attitude. He's just such a good man, and I'm grateful for everything that he's taught me about being a good dad, a father, and just a good friend. So thankful for him for helping with this podcast and helping with his sister. So great. On with the episode. Hopefully you enjoy it, and thanks for all those that listen, and especially grateful to Heather. Thanks so much. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Episode 58. I am Stuart Anderson, the Duole podcast. If you're watching the video, look at these beautiful people joining me. Kristen, welcome. John and Heather joining us together live. You're in Heather's house?
Yes.
Very good. So really special podcast today, our Flower Power podcast with Heather Van Boerum and John Olson. We're going to tell Heather's story. Well, Heather's going to tell her story, right?
Yes.
Sure.
Before we jump into it, if you're listening to this podcast before June 22nd, I'm starting to call it the Idiot's Challenge. John, have you heard about the Idiot's Challenge? Yes. So as an idiot, whoever can come up with the dumbest ride Friday or Saturday or Sunday of this Pioneer weekend is going to get a $100 gift certificate to Cycling Upgrades. We have 2 of them available for the biggest idiot. Is that going to deter people from participating, or is that inspiring?
Inspiring.
It is inspiring.
I'm trying to think of a route.
Well, it's not about a route either.
Oh, it's true. Yeah.
I picked up on some ideas from some of the younger guys that
it's not about just the route.
Yeah. Todd was saying wearing or even riding, John.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
Porter's Fork unicycle.
Porter's Fork.
You're not confined to this box of like crazy routes. It can be what your definition of stupid is.
Yes. Would an idiot do that thing?
How much ice cream I can eat while looking at my bike.
John, see, that'll win you a card. I agree. And then we are inspiring team members to sign up for East Canyon Road Race on August 6th. If you sign up, the team and cyclingupgrades.com will pay for you to race. So hopefully that inspires our team to kind of show up in numbers there. So very, very awesome. Our new sponsor with Corby and cyclingupgrades.com. So there we go. Any other announcements? John, how was our ride this morning?
Oh, it was beautiful. Thanks for giving me the head start so I could ride a little bit with you guys at the top.
There you were at the top. That was so pretty.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was good. And me and Kristen are recovering churros in our veins right now from Disneyland over the weekend. Not good.
No.
Bad choices were made. Heather, we've seen you started to go to Torrent. Is that how you say it? Torrent Cycles?
Yeah.
With our good friend Liz Rabel. How's that going?
It was awesome. We had so much fun. I'm definitely not back to my usual strength and speed, but it just felt good to get out there. And as you know, Liz is like so inspiring. You could go and sit there and just sweat from listening to her talk. It was good. We were surrounded by lots of friends and family, and it was awesome.
Very fun. Maybe, John, will you introduce your sister, and then we'll, if anyone listening doesn't know her story, we'll get into it and make sure we're introducing what's happening, our Flower Power podcast properly. Go ahead, John.
Perfect. Yeah, wrote this. Heather has not heard it, so hopefully I have the information correct.
Elbow in the ribs if it's not. You're right next to her.
Yeah, you can interrupt. Heather Van Boerum, A.K. Flower. Heather was born and raised in Salt Lake City, Utah. She's the fourth child of 6. As a child, Heather was given the nickname of Flower. I don't know why. Maybe she can explain.
Let's do it. Explanation?
I don't know why. I really don't. Heather is a flower, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's the purple Scottish flower. And so I do know I used to say to my mom, Heather is a flower when I was really little.
Very good.
There
it is.
Well,
okay.
Now I know.
Now I know.
All right. She attended Highland High School. While at Highland, she caught the eye of many a boys, one of whom would eventually become her husband. After high school, she attended the University of Utah. While at the U, her older brother's best friend, Don Van Boerum, finally got the guts to ask her out on a date. Many dates and Sigma Chi formals later, Don and Heather were married. Don was an inspiring doctor with big dreams and big brains. Don attended medical school at the U. After he graduated, they hopped in their love bug and off they went to residency and all that other doctor stuff.
No kidding.
They spent several years in Arizona and California where Don perfected the craft of saving lives. During the time, they became parents to 4 amazing children. Finally, after all those years away, family members back home were able to persuade the Van Boerum clan to return to Zion. They came kicking and screaming, but they came home. Back home, the call to procreate came and a knocking, and they had another kid. Don started working as a trauma surgeon at IMC, and Heather was home herding cats.
Mm-hmm.
Moving forward several years, Heather and Don kids have grown up. Some are in college, some are married, and one is starting his freshman year at Olympus High in the fall.
Nice.
They're Titans as well.
All right.
Oh, and they are the proud grandparents of their first and only grandchild. Wait until you hear that story from Heather.
Yep.
Heather has always been a very active person. She loves going to the gym, even if she hates to sweat. She loves playing tennis with her friends in a local league. You also could find Heather on a hike, a walk, or even once in a while get her on a run. Heather has never been one to sit around. All kidding aside, Heather is an amazing person. She has been her whole life. Her family and those that know her will attest to that. She's been a rock to so many people for so long. Heather is always ready to help. She can laugh with you, cry with you, give you amazing advice, or just listen. Her family is no different. Don is always available when needed, even with his crazy doctor schedule. Trust me, I've called him at all hours of the day and night and met him at the ER at all hours. Heather and Don's 5 children, 2 son-in-laws make up a tribe that is unbreakable. Heather's 5 siblings are lucky to have her in their lives and call her their sister and friend. On December 20th, 2001, Heather's life and her family's life changed forever. Heather was walking into Costco when suddenly out of nowhere, a car reversed into her and pinned her against another car. I will let Heather tell the story, but what proceeded from that event has been inspiring, amazing, jaw-dropping, and any other word you can think of. Most of all, it has shown what the power of positive thinking, the love of family and friends can do. And it also inspired a pretty cool cycling kid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud to introduce my sister.
Welcome,
Wow.
Heather. We're grateful to have you. So after having read all the news stories and listened to some podcasts, maybe I can set the stage for the accident. John kind of introduced it, but Heather, you said you were off trying to provide some service to some parents by hosting a pizza party. And so you were at Costco kind of gathering supplies, gathering food. And then you heard obviously a commotion. Oh, and you were on the phone with Don in the parking lot. And then you heard kind of a commotion or whatever behind you of this. We think it's like an older man, right? He's like and maybe lost control of it. 92?
72.
Okay. Phew. Not like that makes it better, but geez. Kind of some commotion behind you. And then you were just pinned between 2 cars. And is it your left leg that got instantly severed from your body?
No, it was my right leg.
Your right leg. Is that a good word to use? Is that too much?
Nope,
Nope. Okay.
that's what it was.
And then the other one was crushed.
Mhm.
And then onlookers rushed to your help, applying tourniquets. I want to hear this story. And then kind of like some more people that you called angels, which is really cool, that were there to kind of comfort you and be in the right place. Maybe talk about your perspective up to this point, if I'm missing stuff of what happened.
Okay, well, one thing I kind of thought about as I was preparing today is John was on the phone with me as I was driving to Costco. We were talking about, Christmas was 5 days away, and we were talking about some things. And so I even said to him, I'll call you in just a little bit. I've got to go into Costco. And I was on my way into Costco. Don and I were on the phone, and I worried about that a little bit because I know we can get distracted talking on the phone, walking in parking lots, but I was definitely not distracted. We were kind of a pause talking about setting up this party for my son. And there were some cars lined up to go out of the parking lot. It was really busy parking lot. And I was waved through by some of the cars to keep walking. And yeah, I just heard this loud noise, as did everybody else. And this car, it's hard to really visualize, and Don has drawn a great picture of it. It's this just crude drawing in pencil. And if the car came from quite far away, he was backing up and going about 35 miles an hour, and he bounced off of another car and then ran into me, pinning me between a car, then bounced off of me and went up onto a snowbank. So you can tell the, amount of force that was going on. It was loud. So my phone was thrown. I didn't know where it was as I was laying on the ground. And we got to that point where I was laying on the ground. There were some just angels, earthly angels there. A woman who, honestly, she's tried to recount her day and figure out why she was there, and she just can't figure out. She'd never been to that Costco, and actually got in her car, saw the accident happen, drove away, and then felt like she needed to go back. And she held my hand the whole time and really kept me with her. She talked to me the whole time. She was the one I was mentally focused on. And
Very cool. And then Don hears the commotion in the phone, and is that him? He rushes down, or did somebody say like, "Hey,
somebody
get down here"?
The phone, and they said, "Your wife's been in an accident." And he actually was thinking, and Don, we've added Don. He's just right
Hey,
here.
Don. Yes.
So if I miss anything, he'll let you know. So he hears that, the guy tells Don there's been an accident, and Don's thinking, from what he heard, it had to be like a car somewhere. So he's looking out the window on the freeway from the hospital thinking, I don't see any lights. And then the man told him it was down in the Costco parking lot. He was on the 11th floor, and he ran down all the stairs and ran across the parking lot and got there just as the ambulance arrived.
Okay. And Don, you can hear me?
Yes.
So from there, hey, peace. All right. This is great. Yes, special guest. Hey, so from your perspective, is this, I'm not saying to have to describe the situation anyway, but like, are you prepared when you arrive for what's happening? You see your own wife and Heather's, are you like, okay, I'm right into Dr. Don, or, how does this work for you?
Yeah, it's kind of a combination of the two. So, they had actually put her in the ambulance as I got there, and I jumped in the front of the ambulance, and the guy says, "Do you want to go in the back?" As he recognized me. And so I jumped in the back, and, I said, "Heather, it's Don, I'm here." And there was kind of no response. And I kind of looked at the paramedics, and the one guy looks at me and says, "We have her limbs." And that was kind of the first I really realized what had happened. And, then I looked down and, see tourniquets on both legs, and it was like, oh, wow. And by then, we're already in the the ambulance entrance of the hospital, and wheeled Heather into the trauma bay that I spend a good portion of my life, and I just announced it, hey, everyone, let's get going. This is my wife. So
yeah. And one thing that I love seeing, I mean, as silly as it sounds, is your daughter starts an Instagram page where we now watch like Don there sitting like 24/7, which was really, I'm not saying it's like inspiring. I mean, you're a husband, but I mean, at the same time, it was incredible to kind of think through as a normal human what you guys were experiencing, as Don's done this his whole life. And now all of a sudden it's like totally different. I mean, this is like quite a crazy situation. So Heather, now you're in the hospital, and how long are you there total until you're released?
Exactly 30 days total.
Dang. Okay.
So I was in the ICU, Don's ICU, for 3 weeks, and then they moved me up to the rehab floor for a week.
Okay. And I remember Chip being here in the office as I'm talking to Drew. Chip's talking to Drew about surgery. And then tell us about the decision to take your other leg.
Yeah. So on Christmas Eve, and we had some really incredible experiences those first couple of days as a couple, and with our children. The Lower Lights came and sang, and we actually had a really calm feeling. But on Christmas Eve, they came to me and said, we need to make a decision about this leg. And I'm looking at it, I see the leg, it's all kind of wrapped, and then I see my foot at the end, and I always say pink toe or red toenails for Christmas, and thought, okay, I've got this leg. But they kind of, they'd come to the conclusion that, yeah, they could maybe save it, but it wouldn't work properly, and it would really hinder me from doing a lot of things. I am active, and it would hinder me from doing a lot of things. So they kind of presented that to me, but it was really when Drew and Don came and they sat down, and just talking to them, they explained it just without holding anything back, and saying what it would be like, what they felt about it, but ultimately it was my choice. And then just a really neat experience. A nurse happened to be in the room, and one I was really close to, and she said, "Oh, I've got a friend 2 floors up, and she was hit by a bullet bike in Europe like a couple years ago, and she tried to salvage her leg and ended up amputating a couple years later." And that nurse came down and spoke with me. And after those it was really just a few hours. It wasn't emotional. It was just really as matter of fact as it could be. And I made the decision. They helped me. I made the final decision on my own, and we really have not questioned it since.
Yeah. Very good. Are you saying that Drew was just very candid? It seems out of character for him. He was
shocking.
He was guarding the truth.
he didn't slap it or anything.
Oh, that's weird.
So weird.
I want to hear about this grandchild. Can we hear that
gosh.
story? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great story. I hadn't been moved, and I had tons of tubes and everything. And they're like, well, first of all, she's supposed to deliver at the University of Utah, and people put the emotion, and I'm not supposed to name names or anything, but it happened. And they said, okay, she can deliver at IMC. And so they kind of got me ready. And I was a little nervous just because of the pain and everything, but I had another nurse that I was really close to. I actually kind of got to pick her, and she got me all set, wrapped all my, in fact, they braided all my cords coming out of my body. I thought that was kind of cool. And they braided them so they could all stay together, and they hooked everything up, and they moved me onto this gurney. And then I took, I was handing out suckers for anybody who wanted them, because they were dum-dums, right? The dum-dum sucker. Because I thought no one should go without flavor during Christmas. And I had gone without flavor for too long. So I hid suckers in my bed and took them down. We went down. They wheeled me down just in time. We went into the room. They put me next to her. I held her hand, and I was quite fevered. I had rags all over my face, and I know I was a little out of it, but that moment was just amazing. I mean, it was the coolest feeling in the world. And then right after, we're just in this wonderful moment, and Annika tells me, Mom, we're going to name her Greta Heather after you. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm a little dramatic because I'm on a lot of medication. I'm like, wow, I'm so honored. She said, yeah, Mom, she's going to have some big shoes to fill. And all of a sudden her face just goes, what I say. And I'm just high as a kite, just like, I don't know anything. And just happy she did it.
You're like, you know what? They are bigger shoes now that they're filled with prosthetics. So
that's right. And I'm taller too.
Exactly. Very funny. John, maybe you can tell us kind of where you fit in here. We had some it was very early on here in this journey that John came to Spence and said, we got to do something as a team. This is kind of our culture. Let's rally behind this family. And John came up with this idea for kits. Maybe you could share a little bit about what you were thinking, John.
Yeah, I was actually driving to St. George for one of my son's baseball tournaments, which is irrelevant, but I just had a lot of time. I was in the car by myself and thinking about this whole thing and thinking, what can I do for Heather and Don and the family? They've done so much. I'm not exaggerating. They've done countless things for me in my life. And I'm like, well, they don't need dinner because they're going to have plenty of dinners from neighbors and ward members and all that. They don't need anything, to be honest. I mean, they are rock stars. They're handling this amazingly. So maybe we can just honor them. And so I'm like, I love cycling kits. I like thinking I can design something. So I called Chip and said, what if we designed a kit for Heather and honor them? And then I thought, you know what, we could, the team is so supportive. Let's make this a fundraiser. And Duole, our partners at Duole with the team are just amazing. I was on phone calls with them and emails over and over again, and they were so helpful. And you and Kristen, both of you helped kind of with some of the design stuff, and Andy Welch helped. So it wasn't just me. It was just something where I could do something to honor this family and my sister, and then also knowing that she would want to benefit something else other than her, was able to donate some money to Wasatch Adaptive, which was really cool.
Very cool. And the team really stepped up, like really fun to watch. How many kits were sold? So, I mean, we were talking about it this morning, mountain biking, John. I mean, it was like close to $30,000 worth of kits from dudes that they don't need kits. These guys don't need to buy more kits.
They necessarily, a few of them know me, a few of them know Heather and Don or Drew or Chip. And, you had to meet 25 piece minimum, and I was scared we wouldn't meet it. And we sold well above that, and just grateful. So
very cool.
Amazing.
I'm going to let Kristen introduce. This is her idea. That's why I thought it'd be fun to have her on, kind of introduce the thoughts for some questions we want to ask about. You do it, babe. Go ahead. You start.
Yeah. Well, Stu and I were listening to the podcast, one of your podcasts together, just on a car trip, and kind of talking about, we're going to have her on our podcast, and how does that relate to us or the cycling community or who's listening? And I really think it relates to everybody, but a couple of things that I have thought of, I don't know which order to do them in here, but watching you and your family go through this, I would say that like doing hard things always teaches us something about ourselves. And so I guess one of the questions I would have is, going through this process, like what are your takeaways that you can look at, maybe that you didn't know about yourself before this happened, that you've learned about yourself now that you can share with us?
Okay, well, I mean, going through this process, every second was a learning experience for me, and a thought-provoking experience, because obviously I had a lot of time, but it was also I was in a different mode. I was in, you know, you kind of start going through life, and you've got your day planned, and I was very scheduled and liked to have everything planned out, and really didn't take a lot of time to sit and think about things. And as I went through this process and my days weren't planned and I didn't know what I was going to be doing next, and I learned that I am surrounded by amazing people, which I knew before, but I don't think I appreciated it. And I found out that I really enjoy slowing down and taking time to experience the relationships and the process of life, rather than just trying to go through it and get it done. I mean, you know, when you slow down, even the fact that you're going to stand up one day and use the restroom, but it's going to take you 4 hours, and somebody's going to help you, you appreciate every moment of that, and you talk to the person that's going to help you and it's just a new experience. And so what I've learned about myself is that I really appreciate life's experience even more than I ever did.
Very cool.
Well, I know that, you know, we've had some members of our team crash, and, you know, it's not gone well for them. And I think nobody wakes up in the morning with this idea that their life tomorrow or in an hour is going to be different. It's going to completely change. And so listening to you express, like, you know, how you've adapted, or watching how you've adapted, like your daily mental perspective and routine and how that's shifted, I just think that's like incredible. I don't know, like if you had advice to give somebody who maybe is going through something similar, what would that be? Like how, I don't know. I mean, I just think it would be so easy to like sit in the doom and gloom, but I don't feel like you've ever done that. So you must have been prepared before this, I feel like. Is there something you can look back on in your life that now looking back, you can say, I gained these tools through these experiences, or by doing certain things, you know, like what parts of your life do you feel like gave you the tools to have this amazing mindset that you've had through this whole experience?
Yeah, well, I actually do feel like I was prepared before the accident happened in certain ways, mindfully and physically. But I mean, honestly, physically, and we all know this because we're athletes, right? We're training for things, and Don has mentioned many times, like I trained a ton during COVID just because we had so much time, and that benefited me physically. Once the accident happened, I was able to take that amount of blood, which a lot of people wouldn't be able to take. Mentally, it's a whole different issue. I've always presented myself to my husband. Maybe that's why he married me. I'm a scrapper, as I think anybody is in a sport, right? I mean, we're gonna just give and give and give and just scrap our way to the top. And when this happened to me, my first physical therapist that I met, I said to them, you know, I decided I'm going to look at this as a sport, and I want to learn this sport. I want to know this sport, and I want to be good at this sport. And it's really all encompassing. It includes cleaning my wounds. It includes taking care of my legs. It includes learning about my new tools, my new legs I can have, and what I can do with them. And I think that keeps me going. you know, I've as time has gone by and people get these perceptions through Instagram and stuff, I worry that people think, oh, there's never downtimes, and I haven't had many. I've been lucky, but I met this really cool guy at one of those Wasatch clinics for amputees, and his name is Tommy, and he came up to me and he said, you know, I hope that it's okay to letting yourself cry, and it's okay to have a down day and everything. And then you kick yourself in the butt and you get back and you get going. And it was funny because the next day happened to be the anniversary of our dad's death, 2 years. And I woke up that morning and I said, okay. And it was my 6-month anniversary being out. And I said, okay, I'm going to cry. And I cried that morning, and then did what he said, kicked myself in the butt with my leg. And so I think that's really important. And then one other thing I have to mention, because it honestly saved my life. And I think that a lot of the people who will hear this podcast might appreciate it, but there's a book called The Book of Joy. And I don't know how many people have read it, but it's a book with Desmond Tutu and the Dalai Lama. And they've come together for a week, and they are talking about joy and their circumstances. And I'll tell you, you can't read this book without just finding joy in life, and kind of it just refocuses your whole mind.
Nice.
Hey, Stu and Kristen, if you don't mind, I want to share one thing that Heather taught me last week.
Yeah.
And when this first happened as well, as reiterated. I hope Heather doesn't mind me saying this. I won't go into specifics, I guess, but I've only heard her complain once, and it wasn't what she was going through in this whole 8 months or whatever we're at now. And that was while she was in the hospital. I called and we had a crying session together. And it wasn't because of what had happened. There were some other circumstances. The other thing that I think applies to your question, Kristen, is what Heather has taught me, and Heather actually called me a few days ago. I've gone through some little bit of tough times, as everyone does. And she called and said, John, you got this. You can do this. You're smart. You're a good person. You're going to be fine. Just go and do it. You'll be fine. Have confidence in yourself. And I think that can apply. I've actually said that to myself on a ride, even probably this morning when I'm trying to stay with Stu. John, you got this. You can ride this. You can do this. You can make it up this. But also in life, it's like, if you don't have confidence in yourself, I don't know. It's an important thing to have. And I'm learning that. And she reiterated that to me in an early morning phone call one day. And it's been stuck in my head for some time now. So
very cool. I think that we're also, we all face change, like adapting, change, adapt. This has been a big adapt and change for your family. Maybe Don could go first. Don, what have you learned about change and adjusting and adapting just in your own personal, like just with yourself and with your family?
Oh, gee, that's tough to answer. But I think, most of us are afraid of change. I mean, I think that's human nature.
Yeah.
Even no matter what the situation is, even though, we find ourselves in situations that are not ideal, we're at least comfortable with it because we know what it is. And so when change happens, and, you see that in organizations, you see that in personal lives, there's a lot of anxiety and there's a lot of fear of the unknown. And, what's known is comfortable, what's unknown is not comfortable. And so with change, I think, and how this changed us is trying to kind of look down the road at what might be, but yet focusing on just what is the task at hand. So, for Heather, for example, she didn't have to, get up first day and walk on, these titanium carbon fiber legs. She had to deal with the pain, and she had to focus on nutrition and things like that. And each day is just a one little thing. And so, there's with us, and personally, it's like, wow, our whole life has changed. I started having thoughts, are we going to be able to stay in our house? Because our house has got a couple of levels and multiple levels throughout the house. And then it's like, are we going to be able to afford this? Am I going to be able to keep my job? And, all those things. And it can be overwhelming. But then if you just roll back and slow it down and say, okay, what do I need to do today? And just focus on what do I need to do to get through today? But at the same time, having, kind of a direction of where you're going to go in the, that's off in the distance. You don't have to get there today. You don't have, we're still, that thing is still down the road for us in a lot of aspects. But, we're just kind of chipping away at what do we need to do today and how can we improve our situation just a little bit better. Just kind of just getting that 1% better, or just doing a little bit better today than yesterday, and then things will work out.
Very good. Very wise. How about you, Heather? What have you learned about changing and adapting?
Well, I do not like change. Don knows that. I am probably OCD. I have not been officially diagnosed, but I would probably say that. I like the same food every day. I like the same workout every day. Everything changed overnight. Yeah. And what I've learned for it is change, you grow. You really do grow. And as much as we don't like it, if we're not presented with that opportunity for someone to say, no, you don't get to do what you're comfortable in every day, then we will take what we know. And, I will even say I got comfortable in the wheelchair. I was like, yeah, I'm good in the wheelchair. I'm good, and each step I've had to say, no, okay, now we got to go that, like Don was saying, that next step. And, it's hard, but I now I look at it and I can see there's a lot of growth. I know there's that saying, when one door shuts, another door opens, and that is a part of change. You can't have, and maybe something bad's going to come, and that's Don's always telling me, make yourself vulnerable, because for good to happen, you have to open yourself to the bad too.
Very cool. John, any thoughts on, you've had to change and adjust a lot in your life. Any thoughts?
Yeah. They've said it beautifully. I don't know if I can say it much better. But yeah, I change is scary. I'm just reiterating it. It comfort is great. Complacency can be nice, but like Heather said, Don said, you don't grow without change. You don't, you got to put yourself in that position, or an event will put you in that position.
Yeah.
But it is scary. It is very scary. And, but like I said, what Heather told me in a phone call, you got to have confidence that you can get through it, no matter how long it takes. It's not a cockiness. It's just, you got to have confidence in your abilities. So, and your drive and your motivation to get through things.
You can pass this question if you want, although John said you probably wouldn't, but it's something that I really, me personally have had a hard time dealing with, which is this man that hit you. And maybe that's petty, but was that a thing for you? How have you dealt with being upset or mad at this person? Like, can you talk about that? Forgiveness or whatever you want to call it? Okay.
For sure. So, and many of you may have heard the story, but I'll just say it. It was before Christmas Eve. And so it had to have just been a couple of days after the accident. My son, Jacob, who's a member of your team, came into the hospital, and you have to just know him. He's a lot like Don, but he's quiet, but he's the most thoughtful. And when I say thoughtful, he's very thoughtful and giving, but he's also very thoughtful about everything he does and says. And he came to me and he said, Mom, have you thought about the man who hit you? And I honestly it hadn't even crossed my mind. And I'm not even sure at that time I was able to talk. I think I had a breathing tube in, but anyway, I just either wrote no. And he said, well, I would like to take him a gift. I'm sure he's suffering, and I'd like to write him a letter. And he brought me that letter. He went to all the kids and asked how they felt. And some of them didn't agree with it. And that was okay. That's their process and what they needed to feel at the time. But he came back and read me this letter. And it was beautiful. And it was about forgiveness and that man having peace. Wow. And honestly, it was that, and I remember telling my sister Heidi, I don't have time to be angry at him. I really didn't. It's hard to imagine, and I hope it doesn't sound dramatic. Hopefully Don will back me up, but I really was just trying to live those first few days. And then after that, it was how am I, trying to get through the pain or so everything was a lot of work, and it would wear me out. I knew I did not have time to even worry about that. And so with Jake planning that thought of we want him to have peace, I wanted to have peace in my heart. And I just knew I could not go there. And it hasn't been that I haven't thought about it. I put time thinking about it since into thinking about it. It's just not a part of my life, and I really do have good feelings. Things happen.
Good. Very good. This needs to be, we're going to morph this podcast into a parenting clinic for us to learn how to parent our children from you guys. So.
No, you don't want that.
Yes.
You could meet their kids.
Oh, that's fun. Kristen, I didn't want to cut you out. Any other questions that you had about just adapting and changing?
No, but I just want to say that, I know John, I'd say pretty well, and I don't know Heather that well, but I've had the honor of writing with Heidi as well. And I do feel that your family has something special.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that, Kristen. We feel the same. And we hope other families feel the same. I know there's family struggles in every family, right? And I don't want to speak for anyone, but our family is pretty closely knit, and we've experienced a lot together. And been through a lot together, good and bad. And we for sure have each other's backs. And so, yeah, I appreciate, it. Like I said, I think in the last paragraph or whatever of my intro, this really is a story of positive thinking and surrounding a family and a person with love. So
yeah, I agree. Heather, what's next? So you've got your legs. Now what? You've been spinning. Now what else are you doing?
Spinning. I know Don is going to want me. There are so many questions about backcountry skiing, and he's going to want me to get ready for that. He's got me training and working on my glutes and my hamstrings.
Oh boy.
All the time. Don and I, we really like to travel. And when I say travel, we're really adventurous, and we often think about how that it's going to lend itself to having no legs, because we've been in the Philippines swimming with sharks in a $2 a night hotel. How do you do that with no legs? And I look forward to, and I know Don looks forward to that as well, like figuring that all out, and how are we going to do those things that we want to do, and then being a grandma. Like I that's like my favorite role right now, is being a grandma.
Very cool, man. That's just the beginning. You only have like one little infant. Here we go.
Yeah, can't wait to teach her everything.
Very cool.
And we're really not that old.
Ancient. Oh, Grandpa Don.
Grandpa Don.
Stu, it's been fun. It's been fun watching it from a distance, or from my perspective. I don't, maybe Don can correct me, but I was either told, or my perspective of Heather walking was a year from the accident. And when we would get videos of her with her one prosthetic and then 2 prosthetics and walking at rehab, and then I got to spend the 4th of July, the Saturday of the 4th of July, the weekend up in Heber with them. My family was out of town, and to watch Heather dance with her grandchild and dance with Don and be able to go to her daughter's wedding in San Diego. It's just that there's nothing that's going to limit Heather and Don from pursuing what they want.
Very cool. Well, it's inspiring to watch, especially, I know you said it's not all sunshine and rainbows, Heather. It's not all smiles, but your positive attitude is really the funnest part of the thing that we supported as a team. Wearing those kits, it's like, no, we wear black. Okay, we dominate, we crush, and so now you've got Dave Sharp wearing a pink kit at Crusher,
Yes.
To support, and it's so fun to say, like, well, we are supporting a person and a family who has shown us, like, you can be gritty, you can be happy about it, and you can change and adapt, and it just encompasses a lot of like who we are as a team. So it's really fun to rally behind you and the Flower Power idea. And I mean, when John wears them on a ride, it's like, dude, fits right in. It's fun to have. And
I can't thank you guys enough. I mean, honestly, I was blown away by the idea, humbled. And then when I saw them, I thought, oh, these are cool. I didn't think I was going to want to get on a bike again, but I was like, that day, I was like, oh, I'm riding again for sure. Nice. But when you guys showed up, and the support for Wasatch Adaptive Sports, that just cool. Blew me away. And I could tell that people really cared about this, supporting us and supporting them. And anyway, it means the world. So a big, big thank you to all of you.
Yeah, I think other than donating that money to Wasatch Adaptive, the funnest part was we did this in secret, and we were going to try and order them in secret, but it's like, it'll get out. Mm-hmm. And when I came over to Heather's house and showed her the swatch or whatever they call it before they printed them and like, this is what we're doing. And she's like, I'm ordering a kit. I'm like, yeah, we're going to give you a jersey. She's like, no, I want a kit. I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. Let's go. So yeah, she has a kit and she's going to wear it. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
Nice. Kristen, did you see that woman at Crusher wearing, I didn't even know who she was. She was wearing, she was wearing a tank top Flower Power kit.
Yeah.
And when I saw her, I was like, yeah, blah, blah. She was like, why is he cheering for me?
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, all right, let's wrap up. Any concluding thoughts from any of the couch gang? Don, any thoughts as we wrap up?
No, I'm just a visitor. Okay. I think you guys are awesome. And, I guess I did have one other thought, actually, and that is, as we've been going through this, and how do you relate that to the team or whatever? It really is, I think, one of the ways we've been able to do this is just with all the support around us. Mm-hmm. So that's, family, friends, etc. And, when you're riding your bike, going up that hill and you're all by yourself, that's when it kind of sucks. Mm-hmm. And, from my loaded jaw experiences, every time I was by myself because I got dropped every time. And, you're just like, I can't do this. But, with the team and everyone else pulling for you and helping people along, you can do things a lot more than you think you can on your own, just from having encouragement and working together. And, I think this team has shown that time and time again in all kinds of races and things, just supporting one another and, supporting John and supporting us. It's just pretty amazing. So.
It was cool. It wasn't like we had to argue with them or convince them that this was a thing. It was just out it went, and it was cool to see everybody rally. So how about you, Heather? Any final thoughts? Yeah.
I just feel the same about Don, what Don said, just the support. And I felt that John, as I mentioned, our dad passed away over 2 years ago. And, we're adults and we should be able to handle it really well. But it was rough. It was really rough. And John has always been a big support, a good example to me. And so then when this accident happened, he was just like, yeah, I'm there. I'll make my office in your home. I'll do all that. And I just think that's what I've learned. Chip is a good example too. And you guys, when you show up for people, it means the world. And we just need to keep looking for people we can show up for, and my injury, my problem or what I've got is very apparent. It's very visual, but there's a lot of people walking around right now suffering. As I said this at the kit pickup, a lot of people suffering in ways we don't know, whether it's mentally or whatever. And, riding your bike up a mountain and you see someone, it's just that connection and hey, keep going, you got it. And I think the biking community is really good at that, supporting each other, and it's what it's all about.
Nice. Well, now you know why your brother wears our yellow jersey. He is just a leader on this team. We look to John for to lead us in a lot of great ways, and this was one of them. So I was grateful for you, John. Thankful for your family, and
Thank you.
thanks for this last hour. It's been awesome.
Thanks so much.
Kristen, anything else? Any other thoughts?
No.
Okay.
You guys are awesome.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. You guys are awesome.
Thanks.